Hi, and welcome to this tutorial, which is primarily aimed at students. In this tutorial, I'm just going to walk you through how to actually view an H5P file if you're a student, and what you should be careful about when you're actually going through an H5P file, because I think that there's a lot of little tricks that can help you out to get the most of the content that you possibly can. Okay, so let's get started. This is just a sample Moodle page. This exact one isn't available for students because it's currently in the making, but nevertheless we have some H5P files here. Okay, so first things first, if you want to just recognize that something is an H5P file, that's pretty simple because it has this little logo H5P in front of it, and there's a variety of different things that I've already uploaded here. So yeah, this is how you're going to be able to tell that what you're going to deal with is an H5P presentation. Now maybe before we actually dig into it, let me just quickly explain to you what H5P is. So H5P is this little platform with which professors or content creators or even students, if that's what you want to do, can create this interactive content. It's basically a way of creating content that is more interactive, that gives the students more options of exploring the topic at their own pace to the depth which they desire. So it is a very good thing, and I believe that it's very important for you guys to understand how to make the most of it. So there's a lot of different H5P files that you will probably come across. There's from different quizzes, different formats of quizzes, multiple choice questions, tables, even essays. There's a lot of these things, but I think the two most common ones, which you will definitely encounter if you're a student at the moment and your university is using H5P, are the interactive video and the course presentation. Both are very similar, but nevertheless I'm going to show you both of them. And let's start with the presentation, because I think that the presentation is actually a good way to start. So when you open an H5P file, you can recognize it by this little square here. So this is basically this H5P window, and here below you can just see different slides. You can see the number of slides in this case. You can see that there's a little summary slide at the end. This little star at the end is a summary slide. You can make it a full screen, and yeah, that's essentially it. If you want to personally have this file downloaded, you can just click on this reuse button and you can download it here as an H5P file. You can just copy it. So yeah, if you are into H5P and you want to develop some content of your own, or maybe change the content that's already here, you want to highlight things, I suggest that you just copy or download and then maybe use another website where you can like log in, create your own account. Let's say h5p.org. That one is free. It's completely okay when you're dealing with PowerPoints. It's a bit less good for videos, but let's say that most of the content is probably going to be PowerPoints. So if you want to change the content in any way, add any annotations, feel free to download as an H5P file and then use it in h5p.org. Okay, now when you have a PowerPoint, a course presentation, you can see that on this low part where there's all the different slides, you can see that there's this little circle here. And this circle basically indicates that in that slide there's a content which includes questions. So we already know that there's going to be two slides that are going to include questions, this one and this one. Yeah, that's essentially it when it comes to just the frame of it all. So there's the slides, there's the questions, number of slides. You can move around the slides by just clicking on this button. You can click on the slide individually, or you can just scroll right and left with your keypad. But sometimes I know that doesn't work because you need to already click on the frame if you want to use your keyboard to move around. So make sure that before you start, if you want to scroll through with your keyboard like this, so without clicking on anything, make sure to first click on this square, just so that your keyboard knows where you're located and what to do. yeah, here we go. Okay, let's just go through this presentation. I'm just going to point out a few things that you should probably be wary of. Okay, so this is the first slide. There's just some simple text, nothing special. Once again, nothing special, nothing to really bother yourself with. And here we come to something. So there's a little skip. There's this text that says skip here. And wow, if you press it, we just skipped something. So there has to be something there. And that's called an anchor. So I know the way I went from slide number 3. This is an anchor. So when you click this, you're probably going to move forward or backward in the presentation. And some presentations are going to be built like this. So here we have an option of skipping the introduction. And here, if you can see, I just moved kind of past these two things. And wherever you see this little blue square surrounding a text, or maybe an image, or a link, or something, if you see this blue text, there is an option of clicking on it. Okay, so here we go. So we can, in this introduction, we can read about two things: history and hand surgery versus plastic surgery. Basically, this again means that there is like a little link in it, or an anchor. So an anchor is essentially something that takes you from one part of the presentation to the other. But you can see that skip button here was also an anchor, but it didn't have this blue thing around. And that's basically one thing that the teacher decides for themselves. They can either put this little blue square or without it. I personally like to use the blue square because it just makes it more obvious that we're talking about an anchor. Okay, so let's click on something. Let's click on hand surgery. And it took us to a different slide. Okay, we can read everything. There's a little picture. We can just return back. Here we go. So this is how you basically click on different things. If it has a blue square, make sure to click on it because it's probably going to take you somewhere. Okay, now let's skip through. And here we are. There's a quiz, remember? Because there's a little circle on the bottom. That means that there's probably some questions in here. There's 2 questions. To answer a question, you just click on whichever square you like. So let's see. Carpal tunnel syndrome affects the following digits except the little finger. Here we go. If you answer correctly, you're going to get a little tick, and you're going to get a score of 1 out of 1. Here, if a patient with Reynolds disease immerses their hand into cold water, their hand would... Okay, I'm not quite sure if it's turning white or blue. I would say white. I think it's white. But let's just select the wrong answer here, just in case, just so I can show you how this looks. Click check. Oh, and there's a little X, so we weren't correct. So now you can either click on show solution or you can retry. Let's say that we retry. Check again, and we were right. Okay, now let's click keep on scrolling. Again, contents. You can either probably scroll through the contents yourself, but that's not as fun. Or you can just click on whatever you want to go to. Let's say we want to go to nerves. There we go. And here's another cool thing. So next to these anchors, which basically take you to different parts of the presentation, like this one here and all of these, there's an option of embedding these videos. And videos are pretty simple to watch. You just click on it and it's going to start playing. I'm going to stop it now because I don't want the voice to bother us. But yeah, if it's a YouTube video, it's just going to look like this, and you can play it whenever. So that's one thing you should definitely check out. If there's a video, make sure to watch it. Now you can go through this, click on some other things. Okay, so these are all anchors, so you can easily scroll through. Little images, nothing really special around here. Let's see. Maybe the end is going to be a bit more fun. Okay, let's say medium. Oh, and here is this little thing that's called a clickable hotspot. Every clickable hotspot is always going to have this little blue button here. And then it just depends on what kind of a clickable hotspot it is. And that's what the logo depends on. So let's say if it's a text, it's going to be this blue button with a letter I on top of it. So if you click on it, there's probably going to be some text displayed. If there's an image, it's going to have this icon on it. There's also the option of a link, which is going to have like a little chain on it, and options of questions, which are going to be colored differently. They're going to be purple, but make sure to click them. Okay, so now we're going to click this, and we see this little image of a text that we can read. And then to close, you simply close. Here there's multiple clickable hotspots, but let's just go in the carpal tunnel one. And here we can see that those were anchors, I'm sorry. So we can see more clickable hotspots. There's another image here, and here's a clickable hotspot for a link. So if you click on it, we get this little text, and if it's purple and underlined, it's definitely a link. So sometimes you're just going to see purple underlined text on the slide, not as this clickable hotspot, but make sure to click it because it's probably going to take you somewhere. And here we go, it took us to this page which explains a bit more about carpal tunnel syndrome. Yeah, just make sure to follow the anchors and make sure to click on every clickable hotspot you possibly can. What you're going to notice sometimes is that there is this little blue frame that's going to appear, but then maybe if you move past the text, it's going to disappear. That's just an error in how the professor made the H5P. So just make sure to just move a bit away from the text and then it's probably going to become available. Okay, so now let's just go back. See, again, is the same problem. We can't return to theirs because the blue frame doesn't appear. So just make sure to just move your little mouse slightly away from the text. Because basically then the mouse, if you're on the text, is just sensing that there is a text and not that there is this clickable hotspot. That just means that they weren't laid over one another properly. But that doesn't mean that you can't deal with it. Here we go, we go back to contents. Okay, so we've already, let's say, we've clicked on everything that you're interested in. I would suggest to just click on every anchor that there is. So make sure to just, like, you can just scroll through the text just to notice these blue squares and click on them. And here we get to the end, and there's another question here, and it's a fill in the missing word. So, I don't know, here we need to name all of these little bones. Let's just name one of them just so you can see how it works. So again, it's just going to outline what you did right, what you did wrong. You can retry or you can view the answer. And then to finish it off, here's the final slide, and here's this little summary. And in the summary, you're usually going to get scores for all the questions that you went through. So we didn't do very well because we didn't answer most of the unanswered question. But if you just want to review what you did, especially the questions, make sure to just click on Show Solutions. It's going to take you through the different parts of the presentation where you had these questions, and you can see that this little green bracket shows you where you did something right, and the red one where you did something wrong. So you can basically check it out and see the answers. And that's about it when it comes to presentations. So make sure to just click on every anchor. You can notice the anchor because there's a little blue square around it. Here we go, these are all anchors. So make sure to click on all of them. Make sure to answer all the questions. Even if you get it wrong, you can always see the solution. There's no negative points in H5P, so don't worry about that. Make sure to click on any blue button that you can see, because the blue button is usually additional content, such as images, links, extra text. And also, yeah, so make sure that when there's a purple text that's underlined, it's probably going to be a link. So click on it, because there's definitely going to be some additional information that you can use. So again, blue buttons, purple buttons are for questions. There's none in this presentation though. So purple buttons are for questions, and purple text, which is underlined, is for links. Just make sure to follow all of those. And as long as you do all of that, and you make sure to check the summary, and you see what you did wrong and right, you're going to be absolutely fine. Okay, so this is how you go through a presentation. Now let's go back and try to go through a video. I just need to make sure to mute, so it's not too loud. Here's an interactive video. Here we go. You can see that this particular video has this YouTube link in the middle of it, which basically means that the professor didn't actually bother to make the video themselves, but they simply uploaded a link from YouTube. There's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, just so you know. And to play the video, you can press this button. Again, it's exactly the same. So there's the little H5P logo, there's some text about the video on top. You can reuse it, so that means you can download it and deal with, like, change it or add anything by clicking here. You can download it. And to watch and pause it, you're probably going to have to pause it sometimes. There's this little button. So there you go, let's start. This is playing.
Edvotech instructional videos. Prepare.
Here we go, something happened, something popped up. This little plus, we already remember this plus because it's in the middle of a blue button, which is a clickable hotspot. So when you see this, when you see a blue button, you know to click on it. There's a little title which basically tells you what's going to be in there. That's not something that's possible when professors are making the presentations, but it is an option when making a video. So here we can see that someone decided to put the learning outcomes in here, and that someone was me because I made this video, and I was the lazy person who didn't actually film it, but just took it from YouTube. But yeah, now you can see that you don't necessarily have to stop the video here. I just wanted to stop it to explain it to you. You can just keep on playing
the agarose gel tray.
And here we see that what the learning outcomes are. When you're done reading it, you click X, and the video is going to continue.
In this video, we are going to prepare the agarose gel tray necessary for electrophoresis in 7 easy steps.
Just click play when you're ready. Something else happened here. It's green, it has different options, and it's asking you what you want to see. So you can either go to reagents and equipment or to steps directly. So apparently there's 2 different parts of this video, and you can watch one, the other, or maybe both. It's usually going to be sequential, so if you want to see both, I would suggest first clicking on the first one. But yeah, just so you know, this is called a crossroad. Okay, let's say that we first want to see the reagents and equipment, so we click on it.
A horizontal electrophoresis apparatus.
Start again. So we can see this little text up here, but we can also see a little black square. Let's just close this. You can always close this. And it has this little logo next to it. And this little image basically means that this is a link. So when you come to this point, make sure to click on it. If there's this little logo next to it, make sure to click on it. Because here, it's taking us somewhere. It's taking us to their website, which we can probably read. Okay, so far, click on the clickable hotspots, which are blue buttons. Make sure to click them. And make sure to click these things, which are basically highlighted in black and have this little logo next to them. You can keep on playing.
A DC power source.
Click on the link. As you click on the link, the video stops, so you don't have to worry about stopping the video. Just click all the links. There we go. It's telling us something about AC and DC power sources. Keep on playing.
A micropipette or transfer pipette.
Another link.
Micropipettes are used to measure small volumes, usually volumes smaller than a milliliter. There are different types of micropipettes for measuring different ranges to 1,000 microliters.
We close it, we come back, and we keep on playing.
Agarose powder, electrophoresis buffer, and samples for the experiment. Let's get started.
Here we are. Oh, something happened. It's a question. You can already tell that there is going to be a question if you just look down here, because this basically marks every interaction that is in the video. These little dots are usually just going to be text or hotspots. This little thing is the crossroad, which basically took you to either steps or the different things that are used. So if you have already watched the part and you want to go directly back to the crossroad, you can just click here and it's going to take you back. See, now you can go back, for example. And it took us back to this circle because apparently this circle, this question, is the start of the steps. So we need to answer this if we want to continue. Okay, so let's see. Electrophoresis is used for separate and identified DNA fragments, purified DNA fragments. There we go, this one's correct. And we were right. Now we're done. We click play.
Step 1. Dilute your concentrated buffer with distilled or deionized water.
Here are the steps. You can see that there's really nothing happening, so I just scroll forward.
Gel prepared and ready for electrophoresis. Now continue to performing electrophoresis.
The kit is going to take us to a site with what is apparently the protocol for running an agarose gel. And there's another circle here. Basically, if I were you, I would of course watch the whole video. I just want to show you the different features. So there you go. Let's see. It's a summary dialogue. I'll go back because this is interesting. So usually there's the option of adding a little summary at the end of every video, and the summary is usually just a question or more questions. And you can see this little purple button which I was telling you about. So if it's purple, it's probably a question. And here we go, we have a question, so we have to click on it. you saw that the video didn't stop playing. So if you see something that's purple or blue and it just passes you by really quickly, make sure to go back and check what it is. And here we have a question, so choose the correct statement. What is agarose? A linear polysaccharide, if I'm correct. We're correct. And that's it. So when you're completely done, you get to this little star, which is the actual summary. So it shows you how you answered the questions. And we answered both of them correctly. That's it. That's the end of the video. So yeah, just again to summarize everything. When you're in a PowerPoint presentation, make sure to click on every blue box that appears. You can just kind of skim through the text and make sure to click on everything that's blue, because that's probably going to take you to another part of the presentation, which is important. Make sure to click on any purple text which is underlined, because there's going to be a link. And make sure to click on any blue button or purple button. When it comes to a video, make sure to again click on blue buttons and purple buttons, as well as these little black boxes like this one, which have these little image next to it, because that's a link. Make sure to pause if it's going too fast, go back to wherever you want to go. If you feel like you've missed one of those links, just go back to it, click on it, that's it.
Agarose powder, electrophoresis buffer for electrophoresis.
There was a decision you had to make between which part of the video you want to view. If you view that part of the video and you want to go into the next, just click back on the timestamp at which this happened, so we can tell that it's here, and choose the other one. That's it. I hope you will have a lot of fun using H5P. I think it's actually a brilliant way of creating content for students. But yeah, if you have any questions and you want me to explain anything further, please comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, otherwise feel free to email me if you have my contact. So yeah, thank you.